Kona at a hotel room that is hoteling, and there's the Kona skyline out there. My laptop won't hook up to the Wi-Fi here, and I'm using my phone. And most of you are asleep. Some of you are there actually awake. Probably my Euro fans. What time is it? It's, what, 9 o'clock here? So I cannot see that. Check and make that. Oh, we're learning how to use this thing. Let's see here. Okay, the chat goes like that. Oh, there we go. I can see chat now. I got a couple of you in here. I have nothing to talk about, really. Just checking in, see how everyone's doing. And if you got questions, let's see where we go. What's happened in the last couple of days? For some reason, during pre-market last night, there were wicks coming up for GameStop that weren't trading at all. Full minutes were going by, not a single share was selling, which was weird. We had, what else do we have? Shiba Inu still like crushing it. That's weird. And metamaterial preferred shares for Torchlight are still trading, and they're still a couple bucks each. So, yeah. All right. So I have to use my finger a lot. So if you see my finger touch I'm touching you to scroll your chats here. This is pathetic, and what we're going with here. All right. Okay. Hello, everyone in Australia and Germany, and probably have no Americans on here because you guys are asleep. This is just for the international fans. This special little after dark treat for all of you. Oh no, we have an Ohio ape in here. We have someone from Ohio who works nights, obviously. We got Denmark. Hello, Peter in Denmark. And Beans Brigade got some MMLTP. What else we got there? Is Matt doing weird things in Weeble? Man, I can't even look at it because I use my phone to look at that, and now I'm using my phone to talk to all of you. So I'm completely in the dark when it comes to the internet right now, because I have to you guys have to like watch my snaggletooth as I scroll through your chats here. Hey, Antonio's in Seattle. Hey, we got a couple of West Coasters there. All right. Peachy Sunday, Houston. Where does this huge rock in Eagle Rock, California, comes from? Seems to come from nowhere. By the way, this finger thing makes you feel uncomfortably good. I don't know. I've not been to Eagle Rock, and I cannot. Oh, maybe I can actually. I can't hook my computer up to anything. Gosh, dang it! I have no idea how to. I can't look anything up. I'm sorry. You're stuck with just my face, and that's all I have going for you. Man, a lot of people in here. Bay Area, Chicago, Nebraska, and they're saying hi to you, Matt, wandering on the background. That's Matt.
Hello.
He's desperately trying to avoid being in frame. Super Hot Kitty. Houston, what's your opinion on GME's futures theory by Gurkit and others? I think it's very plausible. We've got tons of futures contracts. We've got FTDs. We've got all sorts of things that are being recycled and swapped, and they can only do it so many times before everything catches up to them, and they've got to start all over again. And a lot of that will involve buying. So this time last year in October, GameStop inexplicably shot up 300%. This is like pre-squeeze. So before the media got involved, before weirdos like me jumped on board, it had a big pop back then, and so we're kind of waiting to see if tomorrow is the day that it's going to go bonkers. There's lots of speculation that the 12th means that futures reset, so we're fingers crossed, hoping that it does its thing. All right. Everton Lacerda, Houston, don't you think AMC can go higher because DTCC will take longer to cover all the shares? I also understand the GME apes are made and will not sell early. There are a lot of shares with AMC, and that could probably take time to close positions. That's probably one thing it's got going for it is that if they can draw it out because there's like billions and billions of shares that need to be deleted from existence, and plus those 500 million shares have to be sorted. Oh, on the cell phone, it's really hard for me to see the super chats. Sorry, I'll get to your super chats if I can find them. So, yeah, that's probably one thing that the AMC folks have going for them is that there's so many more shares out there that it's going to take a while to close all those positions. Oh, here we go. David Barney. Grandpa Barney is awake. So if GME goes to loop ring, what's your thoughts on loop ring coin rocketing? I don't know. I don't know if they'll be tied with each other, but if it forces millions of people suddenly to open loop ring wallets that normally wouldn't have, then I can't see why it wouldn't cause more people to buy in other coins since they're already there. That makes sense. Makes sense to me. Makes sense to everybody else. But hey, it's a good point. If all GME float gets DSR'd, how can DTC buy up stuff that shouldn't exist? They will buy it up and delete it from existence. That's all. To close positions, they just have to be able to remove synthetics from existence. So if everything is in, if they tie up the entire float in the DRS, then that leaves everyone in brokerage accounts will have the fake shares, synthetic shares, and those are the ones they have to delete. So as long as they're buying those shares and deleting them from existence, then they can still close those positions. Make it tricky for some of them because some of those shares, 20% or so, are lent out from funds, from mutual funds, from big investment firms, things like that. And those guys do need a physical share put into their accounts in order to delete those synthetics, and then they can sell. I think there's certain rules about them being allowed to sell while having a lent out synthetic position. If I remember my rules correctly. So there may be issue with them being able to sell to delete those positions without having the actual shares. Yeah, I'll have to look into that one more. Monroe Tyler, hello. Tyner, hello. What do you think about the NFT con in the morning? Is it tomorrow they're going to try shooting for the NFT? I have not heard at all. That would be pretty awesome if that's the case. So, come on, NFT. I thought someone said the earliest they'd have it sometime in November, but they've been working hard, pumping away at this thing. So a lot of people who know programming and blockchain a lot better than I do. My experience is basically taking someone else's ERC20 token program and like putting my name in little bits and changes the code. I had no idea how to program it from scratch, so I'm useless on that front. Ethan Card from New Zealand. What happens if your brokerage goes bankrupt before your sell price? Depends probably on your brokerage and what nation you're in as to what the rules are for insurance on that stuff. Man, in the US, I think because you have, like, if you're putting money out there to buy, I think you have like a $250,000 or $500,000 insurance for US brokerages, but you might have to look up in New Zealand as to what that's going to be, because I have no clue how that stuff would work in New Zealand. Houston, who you got win the World Series this year? San Francisco 101 at the start of the season. That's pretty good. I think the Dodgers are a juggernaut, personally. They're a machine. Even when they're like not playing well, they're still playing better than everyone else. I was catching a little bit of the Dodgers Giants game in the hotel bar, and Giants were up like 1-0 at the time. I do think it's cruel to make the division series between Los Angeles and the Dodgers simply because they play each other like 20 times already this season. Just let them play somebody else. They already just give them the chance to like play somebody else for a change. Beans Brigade Gaming. What are the potential legal implications of the MMTLP shares trading? Could someone possibly go to jail for something like this? I'm guessing the answer is no. They probably will get fined. I doubt people will go to jail. I bet there will be lawsuits, and plenty of them, that will be a result of this. The lawsuits will probably stem from when the payout happens. So if people bought these MMTLP shares and they bought them and they never got a chunk of whatever dividend it is, I bet there'll be lots of lawsuits. There's been some murmurs about if you buy them, you still don't have access to the dividend or something. So we'll have to see about that. All right, my finger coming in here to scroll. Forest Fire asks, Houston, if the GME NFT gets announced, then how long will it take for MOAS to start? 235, same with Black Dragon crypto dividend possibly. Yeah, Black Dragon has been steadily climbing at the moment. It's at 0.7, I think. So I think I had 600,000 shares. I think my 600,000 shares went to like $420 today. But the NFT dividend, I think the NFT, I mean, this is all speculation from, the rumor mill out there. But GameStop reserves the right to recall their shares, to take all their shares from the DTCC and say, we want those back, we're going to put them on a different exchange. And I think it's a 90-day warning. So if they launch their NFT, they'll have 90 days to get all their shares back from the DTCC. So if any rocket happens because they put a time limit on that, would be within those days. Because after 90 days, there should not be a single share left trading through the DTCC clearinghouses. And that's a definite clock on that sucker. Steve Gagan, Houston, do you think the MMLTP shares is an indicator of a dividend coming soon? Well, the dividend has to come before December 31st. If there is no dividend before December 31st, those shares translate into a new corporation. And that's probably the result of the oil lands for Torchlight not getting sold, so that they have to just roll it over a new company, and all of a sudden there'd be a new oil company that controls those oil rights. So that's what we're waiting on. It's a clock. So you'll either get cash or stock in a new company if you're holding those shares. NFTCon will be in Florida. RC last tweet was in Florida, so I guess they're doing something cool there. It's happening today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Is that what I saw a tweet above? Someone just mentioned that. Mick Torres just mentioned that. So, yeah, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Oh, you're stuck with an EU broker. You can't trade MMTLP. Yeah, because it's on the OTC. You have to get weird brokerage rights to be able to trade OTC things. Beans Brigade. Yeah, I think Scherzer can win another Cy Young for Scherzer. Thoughts on Michael Burry? Michael Burry is a very smart man who is very paranoid. That's my thoughts on Michael Burry. Houston, this is from Seng Yang. Houston, from Fresno. What do you think about making an online store, LLC the store, and transfer our shares under it for tax reasons? I mean, talk to a tax lawyer about that. I mean, there's a reason why people make holding companies and family funds and are members of hedge funds, because there's all sorts of tax implications for letting people do tons and tons and tons of trades while you just have like a part of the company. And all those trades happen while you're just a passive investor in those things. Antonio Baez, is it legal for GameStop to move their shares to a blockchain represented by a token NFT? I think so. I think it's definitely legal. Wilson Solazano, Houston, what is your opinion on the ancient aliens theory? I'm sure there's aliens. I'm sure there's ancient aliens. I just don't know if they ever came to planet Earth to do things. I think it takes away from the ingenuity of a lot of peoples around the world and their accomplishments. I don't think necessarily if aliens came that their technology would consist of stacking really heavy rocks on top of each other. I think it would be a lot more futuristic and modern than blocks of rock stacked on top of each other. It'd probably be titanium alloys and aluminums or aluminiums if you are Euro. Then, taking one rock and stacking on top of another rock. That's pretty rudimentary and fairly consistent with the progress throughout which humanity has made with engineering, really. Oh, we got a couple of Fresno people in there. I am in Hawaii again. I'll take you guys for a little tour here. Hopefully I won't lose Wi-Fi. Hey, I can see my shirt. I got a killer shirt today. All right, sorry it's all dark out, but we are at the ocean. I don't know if you can see the waves down there. We're in Kona. The city is enjoying itself. And we're back inside. That was an exciting adventure, wasn't it? Oh, now my camera's all sideways. There we go. All right. What on this widescreen? You just cannot see the cool shirt, can you? Gotta appreciate this thing. This is a piece of beauty. There we go. All right. Okay, and there goes Matt traversing. Whoa! Oh no, tripod falling over. Help! Help! Sorry, everybody. You see my palm as I fix things. There we go. All right. Yes, I'm in Hawaii again. Forest fire. Oil prices at the highest they've been in years. $80 a barrel. Do you think Torch is just waiting to sell their fields for maximum value? Forest, or do you think they wouldn't care? Yes. All of the above. The value of those oil fields just rocketed because I think the test they had done was it October of last year. I have to remember the filings I read. They did a test. They did some fracking or drilling, and they did a test, and they're pulling out natural gas and oil out of a well. I can't remember how much it was, but the assessment was that oil had to be at like $57 a barrel to make it profitable. And last spring and fall, oil wasn't that high, and therefore the fields weren't that valuable because nobody could get the oil out of it because you needed higher oil prices. And now that the oil prices are screaming high, those fields are worth a lot more. So yeah. How was the Volcano Tour? We haven't made it to the volcano yet. We're starting that tomorrow. That's for AT. So the Volcano Tour is coming. We're gonna be driving through Puna, checking out old flows, checking out property, then going up to Volcano in the evening. Hopefully you'll see a little bit of Hale Mau in the caldera with the lava lake boiling. And then Wednesday we do our helicopter ride, which I'm stoked for. Very stoked for. Any thoughts when the MOAS can start this year or start next? I think the MOAS is going to be dependent upon the NFT at this point. Simply because Congress managed to at least get us another almost 2 months of budget ceiling. So the market's not going to be quivering about us defaulting on our budget and on our bonds. So that gives us some wiggle room for the rest of the economy before the other things that are gnarly, like Chinese real estate markets and supply chains and U.S. commercial and residential real estate markets and all those things from getting in the way of inflation and whatnot. Oh goodness, you guys are starting to get fast. It's really hard for me to scroll. Just my finger on the screen here. Okay. So I think the NFT is going to be the big kicker at this point, at least on the GameStop side. So yeah. Which meme stock has a higher MOAS potential? GameStop. GameStop's the what's the term the kids use, Matt? Daddy. GameStop's daddy. Oh, 19 Matt says, remember to like the video, everyone. Yes, like, subscribe, hit the bell, tell your friends, share.
Tell your neighbors too.
Tell your neighbors. Broadcast it in Times Square. Project it onto the moon. There we go. Yes, we felt the earthquake. We were actually sitting poolside, and I thought somebody bumped my chair, and I was about to like say, "Hey, don't bump my chair," and someone else bumped my chair, and I realized that the whole ground was moving. It was gentle where we were. We were like 70 or 80 miles from the epicenter, so just kind of like a little roll, and then a little roll, and I was hoping it was gonna get some like killer P waves, and then I get to watch like the pool slosh back and forth, but it was over by then. It was enough that our friend who was driving over to meet us thought like she blew a tire or something. So she had a bit more of a venture. She's like, "Whoa!" But that was, yeah, it was a big enough earthquake over there. 6.2, I think, is what the final determination was. It was on the slopes of Luihi, which is a undersea volcano, which is kind of going to be like the next island in the chain, but it's got about 10,000 years of mountain building before it can break the surface and become a new island, or at least part of the current big island. Yes. Maverick 1970 says, "This is my videos are only videos his dad understands." Well, excellent. You're in the UK, so I hope my Americanese translates well. Houston, what are the basics you would recommend for gold refining? The easiest way to do it is if you're gonna refine gold, like you're taking metals, you're pulling the gold out, you're getting rid of all the other shit that's in there, and you want to get a solid gold. The most simple way is to use a flux and a crucible, and that crucible can be like electric crucible, a propane crucible, or you can even do microwave crucibles. They've got kits for the microwave crucibles. I just suggest if you do a microwave crucible to take that microwave really far from your house and do it outside. Absolutely do not be microwaving any metals in a microwave inside your home, let alone metals that could have arsenic and mercury and lead and other crap like that. So you would do it outside. There are people that do lots of how-to videos on here. I may, if I ever get my act together, do some videos. I'll probably this winter freeze my butt off in the garage and start recycling a whole bunch of electronics and broken jewelry and stuff I have, and deplating gold off stuff, melting it down and making little ingots. It's fun, and it's a great way to get my neighborhood smelling like Vogue, because I've released a whole bunch of hydrogen sulfide in the neighborhood, and they love that. Okay. Huh. I got somebody here. I got to do a little. How do I? I can't do any admin stuff from here. Well, there's a person in here. You'll probably see that if any admins are in here, they can delete. Okay. Huh?
Ricky Ricardo?
Yeah. Do you think it's better to give 2,000 random people $5,000 each, or invest 1 million directly into a location? It's hard to find the most effective way to help people after MOAS. I mean, do whatever you want with your money. Most people who are in financial straits, they're in financial straits for what are considered not very much money. They're behind on rent. They need their car paid or repair done, things like that. So if you're going to do those direct payments to folks, just find out what their problems are and take care of them. That's probably a great way to do it. If you're dumping $1 million into something, it might be for like a rec center for kids, or I don't know, help paving a road for someone, or bringing internet to inner city folks. That might be big projects. So I'd look into what kind of projects you're going to do. But if you're looking for direct payments, you might just look for, just go to someone and be like, hey, what's nagging you? What is this, sword of Damocles hanging over your head, and what can we do about it? What's the albatross around your neck? And work that way. Seems like a good way to do it. I like the way you're thinking there. No. M. Mosler, what would you estimate at what time frame humans would be able to mine resources in space? Ooh. Probably the next 15 years. I bet the first chunks of ore will be coming back, by like 2035, somewhere around there. Especially, consider there's a race going on between the Chinese, the Indians and Japanese consortium, and Jeff Bezos. And Jeff Bezos is kind of racing the U.S. government now, because the U.S. government I think rather stupidly, went with the SpaceX capsule and not the Blue Origin capsule. I think the Blue Origin capsule not only was a better capsule, but Jeff Bezos also offered to just pay for it, so the U.S. taxpayer wouldn't be paying a dime. So now Jeff Bezos is like, well, I'm going to take my capsule, I'm going to put it in my ship, and I'm going to launch it to my moon. And he's shooting for 2024, so basically 3 years. He's planning on landing someone on the moon. That is really gutsy and ballsy. The guy, I don't like saying his name. Can we get rid of this asshole? Yeah, the shills are in here. I don't know if any of my mods can see any of this stuff. They might be all Americans. And I have no power of dealing with folks in here. Any thoughts on HYG? Is it going to drop more? And your thoughts on Shiba Inu? I don't think HYG will do any big drops until probably December, when they have to do their debt ceiling showdown again. So that's when things will get meh, because everyone's gonna puff their feathers up again and threaten to filibuster. And Mitch McConnell said this time around, they're not gonna vote for reconciliation, so they're not gonna get anything out of that. Best electronic to melt. Old computer chips. Those, and old telecom boards. If you've got telecom boards, find them from the 60s through the 80s. Those things are just loaded with gold. So, look, you can look at, like, if phone companies are doing upgrades in certain areas, especially like places that have had really shitty internet for a long time, just see if you can pick up those old electric boards at auction. They have a boatload of gold in them. Gold inside of old computer chips. If you can get Pentium Pro or older, you can do anywhere from about 1/10 of a gram to 1/3 of a gram per chip. And so you can do, in a kilo of chips, like a kilogram of chips, maybe it might be 10 to 25 chips in there. You might do 3 or 4 grams of gold, and each gram of gold is what, $56. So you can do a couple $100, $200-300 in a kilo of chips. So it's not so bad. And plus, there's platinum, there's palladium, there's rhodium, there's silver, a lot of other things. Yeah. So when you submerge this stuff in your nitric acid after you crush it all up and everything, then save that nitric acid and just put it in like garbage cans and just keep saving it. And then eventually you can start precipitating out the other metals that are hidden in there when the count gets high enough, after you've done all the gold. You're like, oh, I've got 3 garbage cans full of nitric acid. I'm going to dump a bunch of salt in this and get all the silver out. I'm going to dump a bunch of, I can't remember the stuff to get platinum out. Can't remember which precipitate it is for that. But you just work your way through all those things and eventually precipitate out all the stuff, and you can melt them all in your little crucible that you get. You get some crazy crucibles off of Amazon and eBay. Might be a few $100 for electric ones, but they work pretty well. I'd recommend getting quite a few of the actual pots to melt things, like little. My brain is totally frying. The graphite crucibles themselves, because they'll crack over time and break and stuff. Okay. Okay. 1 million on semi-volatile mid-cap covered calls, and then donating the profits is a good way to conserve your principal and still getting a good amount of money. There, the GM's got something for you. Billionaires working on the space escape plan before the class war starts. Man. President Flea, how to see the economy through 2021 since the debt ceiling has been extended till December. What are your concerns? I think a couple of concerns are going to be, A, the debt ceiling is going to rear its head again in less than 2 months. B, if the Christmas retail season isn't as robust as people had hoped. C, the supply chain. Supply chain is going to be a huge deal, and we may see prices spike really weird on certain things. So if there's like a hot item for Christmas, and people can't get enough Tickle Me Elmos or whatever it is this year that they want because the supply chain's breaking down, we could see all sorts of, freakish brawls at Walmart as people beat each other's head over for the last, I don't know, princess bunny or whatever it might be. So yeah. Okay. Is Materion still a good value investment? Hell yeah. Materion controls over $150 billion of all the world's beryllium. Like, all the beryllium in existence is owned by Materion. And that mine has at least $150 billion more of beryllium in it. And you can't get beryllium anywhere else. That's it. Their mine is it. But you can buy their entire company for like $1 billion. If they were to sell if they're like, okay, we're going to sell our mine, people would be bidding tens of billions of dollars for that mine. But you can buy the entire company that owns that mine for like $1 billion. So yeah, I think Materion is a good, safe, long bet. Idaho, Washington Real Estate says Citadel has $25 billion worth of puts betting that SPY will tank. What is the relationship between the performance of the major indexes and MOAS? My theory is that if the major indexes crash, then the assets under management of these hedge funds shrink. If the assets under management of the hedge funds shrink, then the margin that they're trading on apparently appears to grow. And if it appears to grow, then they will not meet liquidity requirements. They will be forced to come up with a bunch of cash to stave off liquidation and to meet their margin requirements. And it might get really hard to find that cash if everybody else all of a sudden is destitute because their shares aren't worth anything. And that becomes even worse if the bonds that everyone uses as collateral all of a sudden aren't worth anything because we default in December. So those are the things we have to look at. John Chesney is in Oahu. All right, we got ourselves somebody in Hawaii here. I'm waving towards Oahu right now. You're off. You're about 167 miles that way. Nope. Oh. Oh no. Messages got retracted. I was about to read them. Beans Brigade Gaming. If GME does relocate to Loopring NFT, does that mean DTCC has no say on it trading anymore? Basically no regulation on it at that point? Yep. They've been removed from the FAST system, the electronic system that trades shares for everybody, and they'll be on a completely different market altogether. So the DTCC would have no say whatsoever in how GameStop trades. And if it is locked into an NFT, you can't naked trade it either. You can't generate naked shares and trade it on the Loopring network because it's impossible. You'd only be able to trade the physical coins. I say physical, or they're ones and zeros, but the coins themselves on that network. What's my after MOAS retirement country? I don't know yet. I really, really, really enjoy skiing in Switzerland in the winter. That place is awesome. It's very expensive though, so I have to have a lot of MOAS to be able to retire there. But if you get a season's pass and you got a good ski gear, that right there is several $1,000 investment. But then you're good to go for like several years on that. Just need a place to live and get a good jacket for Monkey Butt because you don't have very thick fur. You got somebody in northern Germany. All right. Nathan98 asking, are there signs pointing towards a grim Christmas? I mean, it's fully within the possibility to see another wave of COVID kick up. That sucker can mutate, and we can see, doesn't look like Mu, which was the strain coming out of Colombia, is more transmissible than Delta. So it looks like South American variants are starting to get replaced with Delta, which is a good sign. basically, because the United States went through its Delta curve, and so did Europe, so did India. So as Delta wanes, hopefully that means infections will start to drop as more people get vaccinated and stuff, and that won't help. But it's entirely possible that a new strain will pop up, and we'll be stuck Christmas time going, supply chain issues again. I think the housing market's going to slow down a bit. We've seen the rise in prices of homes slowing down, some places going down. I saw a Twitter thread the other day of someone posting homes in LA and their change in sale price over the past like month. Some of them have dropped a lot, from like 1.6 million to 900,000. So you're dropping $700,000 in a month on the price of your home. That's a sign of a slowing market. If there's credit crunches happening at Wells Fargo, at Bank of America, then the competition wanes for giving out loans, and then the requirements for getting a loan starts to tighten because you're not competing against other banks for giving these loans to customers. Especially if banks go under. We've still have a big looming commercial real estate crisis because a lot of white collar corporate offices and business parks, their employees don't want to come back to work. They're like, man, commuting sucks. Being in the office with my boss sucks. I can do this at home, save 2 hours of my day. This is awesome. I can do it from anywhere in the world. So, if these people don't come back to the office, then there won't be a need for a lot of these offices to exist. And if there's a need for a lot of offices to exist, then there's going to be millions or billions of square feet of office space across the planet that won't be used anymore. So we've got entire financial districts in major cities that will just have big, empty, billion-dollar offices that they can't lease to anybody. So perhaps, they might get turned into flats, artist spaces, rental units, hotels, other uses, but it's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of investment to make those changes from those corporate offices into something that can be used in like residential means. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that could be happening. Trey took your sleeping pills. Well, if you stay awake while watching me, you're going to really hallucinate. It's going to be awesome. Houston, can I speak pigeon? Every once in a while. Hey, brother. Oh, shoots, brah. There we go. Can monkey butt ski? No, but she can run really fast. So that helps her. Houston, question. If GME on NFT, do they still trade off the New York Stock Exchange and ETFs, etc.? Nope. They trade on the Loopring network. So I think Loopring, my personal hypothesis is that GameStop's is proof of concept showing that you can remove yourself from the fast system and trade in an entirely new type of exchange. And if it's successful, then the folks that facilitated this can then go and work as consultants to other companies who might be overly shorted. You'd be like, hey, we will teach you how to remove your shares from the DTCC and move over here where the fundamentals of your company can actually be the reason why your share price is the way it is. We will eliminate the manipulation of diluting your stock with naked shares. And I think that Loopring network, what they're trying to do is prove that they can make a solid system that's better than the current one and entice others into that exchange. So basically, be a whole new market, and if proven successful, then I can guarantee you the brokerages out there will have to incorporate trading those ERC tokens or NFTs inside of their brokerage account so that folks have access to these companies. Because if everyone's going to leave, be like, oh, screw being with Fidelity, if I can go over to Loopring and trade this stuff for Ethereum gas fees, which Ethereum 2.0 should make those gas fees really cheap, then we're cool. I can just do my stocks that way. It's a definite shift of the dominant paradigm. Dan Summit asks, Houston, who keeps track of how many GME AMC synthetic nakeds were created? How do we know they will be honest on the number of positions that actually need closed during MOAS? Well, individual brokerages know how many synthetics are in their brokerages, and the DTCC in their central computers, they know, but they never tell anybody. So the only indications we'll have is that, brokerage over here says, I need my shares, and brokerage over here says, oh crap, I'll look for them. And they go, all right, you guys need to go get the shares. And then these guys over here are like, I don't have them. And I'll liquidate you, and then we'll do all the buying for you. I need little puppets to work that out. So it's kind of like piecemealed amongst these brokerages, but the DCCC computer, which they will never let anyone look at, and people have tried to subpoena in lawsuits, and they still haven't gotten a hold of looking inside, literally has a ledger that shows who has generated what synthetics, but we just can't see it. Best wealth storage post-MOAS event. I think there's a couple of them. I think blue chips. You invest in the blue chips because the price will probably drastically drop during MOAS. You scoop those suckers up, and then it will rise with you. Gold, because if the economy is collapsing, the price of gold will rise as well. Silver as well. I'm wary of thinking that crypto would be a good bet, simply because crypto will probably be the first thing liquidated off when these groups are facing margin calls or liquidation. And combined with that, there are issues with a lot of fraud in crypto that is not necessarily dealt with by any regulators. And that's my issue with crypto, is that there's so much fraud in there because there's no regulation whatsoever that at times it's even worse than stuff that's happening with short hedge funds, because short hedge funds got their fingers in everything anyway. Yeah, reduce housing costs. Also, a good way to do your money is bank it in real estate, as Matt likes to say over there. If the real estate market drops, you can go to auctions and buy up property for cheap. Houses, commercial real estate, recreation land, whatever. You can get stuff for cheap because you'll have cash on hand, and some of the deals are screaming. I've been to auctions where, $1 million house sold for $50,000, and someone just made out like a bandit. A few years ago, the Maestros, I don't know to say their name right. They had run a Ponzi real estate scheme in Seattle, and during the '08 collapse, skipped town, and then their house got auctioned off. They had like a $20 million mansion on Lake Washington in Medina, and it sold on the courthouse steps for $200,000. Somebody got a $20 million mansion for $200,000. They just won the lottery, basically. Idaho, Washington real estate. Do you believe the same algorithm is shorting all the meme stocks? Or if so, if GME or AMC squeeze, will they all squeeze at the same time? I think they'll all squeeze at the same time. We saw that happen back in January. We saw it happen several times. For a long time, they were actually trading. The graphs were looking exactly the same. So, that's because when they get liquidated, they have to buy they have to close up their positions. That's it. They got to close everything. So anything they're short on has to get bought back. Loopring works on Ethereum layer 2, right? I thought they still have to wait until Ethereum 2 launches, or is that not necessary? Well, the layer 2 in Ethereum does have much lower gas fees, but it's limited to, right now, I think just the Ethereum coin itself. Maybe a couple other tokens that work on the Ethereum network. I know Problemo coins don't. I tried to move all the Problemo coins for my Patreon subscribers into Ethereum, into Loopring, so I could trade in Loopring 2, and they wouldn't accept it for Loopring 2. So I still have like a $20 gas fee if I want to transfer any of those things to anybody, which is just a giant pain. Opinions on Gary Gensler's getting payments from banks and being weeks late on the GameStop report. I'm never going to hold my hope out for an appointed person who leads the SEC, because everyone who is in charge of the SEC has always been someone who's worked at Goldman Sachs, or worked at JP Morgan, or worked at Citibank, or worked at Chase, and they go from private to public, private to public, private to public, back and forth, and I think it's wrong. I don't think, if you had an FBI agent who, he worked for the FBI for 5 years, then he'd go work for the mafia for 5 years, and he'd work for the FBI for 5 years, and he'd work for the mafia for 5 years. You wouldn't want that FBI agent on your team. Why would you want the guys who are supposed to regulate these actors, these big investment groups, also working for them? No, it should be either or. You can either be a regulator or you can be a banker, but you can never be both. Once you accept that role of the SEC, you can never work for a bank. Or maybe if you leave and you work for a bank, you can never work for the SEC again, or if you work for a hedge fund or anything like that. I think there needs to be a definite separation. There needs to be rules put in place by Congress to say, hey, if you leave the SEC to go work in the private sector, you can never work for the SEC ever again. I would like to see that, because then it would finally get us to the point where we can trust these folks. Oh, got some super chats in here. Let me see if I can find them. So I gotta scroll. So I gotta scroll past some of your chats here. There we go. Great Ape Knowles. I was gonna say Greta P. Knowles. Great Ape Knowles asks, longtime listener, eternal GME leprechaun holder, is there any way the SEC and federal government doesn't give a damn about us and uses Black Swan scapegoat to screw our GME savings account pooches? If the U.S. is fading, why not? I don't think the folks at the SEC or the federal government want the U.S. to fade. I think they still want the U.S. to be an eternal superpower. Certainly, they can step in and be like, "Hey, we're going to stop trading. We're going to set up a negotiated closing price for this. So if you want out of GameStop, this is going to be the price, and you can accept it or be stuck with your shares." But I don't think they'll do the forced closing on the retail investors, mainly because there's so many international investors that have jumped into this, and there's so many hedge funds, and there's so many banks, and there's so many mutual funds and other investors that are on our side of this, that if they step in and stop the classic infinite risk that's involved with shorting a stock that you learn about in Finance 101, and they make sure that there's no infinite risk for doing these things, then people will lose faith in the U.S. markets, and a lot of foreign investors will pull out. And the United States cannot afford to lose 40% of all the money that's invested into U.S. companies. They would destroy us. If I cut 40% out of your yearly income right now, you would be ruined, right? So the United States cannot afford to have 40% of the investment in its companies taken out and dumped into some markets elsewhere, enriching Frankfurt or London or Japan or Taiwan, Hong Kong. So we need that money coming in, and we can't destroy the confidence of foreign investors by doing that. Okay, let me scroll back up and see if I got some of these guys here. Credit Crunch sounds like a candy bar. BBR Germany, how will it work? GME, AMC are traded on a lot of exchanges, not just American. How can I buy or sell my shares from Germany bought in the Lang Schwartz exchange? I don't know. I think part of that 90-day warning, like, hey, we need to recall of our shares because we're going to put them on the Sloopring network. I think someone's got to figure out in 90 days how to do that. Because if there's any shares left, like the synthetic shares left after GME will literally reach into the computer at the DTCC and pull out all 70 whatever million shares that they have and they will NFT those suckers and put them on Loopring network. And so if there's millions or billions of these naked synthetics left, then all those hedge funds have to close those positions. They cannot let those things exist. They cannot trade anymore because they shouldn't exist. So it's going to be really interesting to see if, when, how they manage to do that. Peter, not trying to be a shill, but how sure are we on GME making an NFT, and do we have a date for release? We don't have a date for release. Everyone's pretty sure that there's something happening between Loopring and GameStop. And the fact that a whole bunch of former Loopring employees are now working on an NFT for GameStop. There's an NFT website of talking about it. And other folks who are some of the biggest blockchain experts in the entire world somehow got lured to go work for a video game retailer. Means that there has to be something really nefarious and diabolical coming. Like, these folks will only work on something if it's truly bizarre and revolutionary. And I think that's the biggest tell we have going right now. Okay. Have I seen the volcano yet? Not yet. We're going tomorrow. I'll try to get some pictures for everybody. Supreme Pig Roach, in the past you said Blue Origin would be a good stock scoop if when available. This still your opinion? Yeah, I still think Blue Origin is going to come out as the superior space company to SpaceX. I think their engineers are better. I think the stuff they make is of higher quality. Jeff Bezos' problem is that he's not a marketer. Like, he's not out there going, hey, look at me, I'm a big fancy billionaire like Elon Musk does. Like, if Jeff Bezos was hosting Saturday Night Live and getting in Twitter fights with people, he would probably be making a bigger name for himself and a bigger splash. But he's not marketing himself in any way that will help net some of those contracts. I think New Shepard is going to be a superior ship to, New Glenn will be a superior ship to the Falcon 9. Larger payload, better engines. I think it's going to be a better ship all around. Houston, isn't the government an everlasting Ponzi scheme? Yeah, except the government's allowed to make its own money. So, if Mitch McConnell lets them. Cosmic Cornelius, Midwest Ape here. Usually listen to these streams while falling asleep. No offense. If GME goes to 50 million, how can a hyperinflation economic collapse be avoided? Well, GME goes 50 million. A whole bunch of billionaires lose their wealth. They're tied into hedge funds. So there's kind of zero-sum game a bit going on. If that's the case, blue chips crash in the market. Housing crashes. Oil prices crash. Food prices crash. Tourism crashes. And 330 million Americans and others around the world all of a sudden are feeling the pain of this big market correction. So they're doing less buying, they're doing less traveling, they're not buying cars, they're not doing other things they normally would be doing. They're facing possible evictions from their homes and all sorts of other terrible things. So, a bunch of apes having $50 million in their accounts or bought a whole bunch of shares out there, that doesn't necessarily change the velocity of money. I'm sure that someone will be buying Ferraris and, partying in Vegas and stuff, but I don't think it really will affect too much the velocity of money around. So we wouldn't see like hyperinflation. We'll probably see inflation like we're seeing now, 4 or 5%. But in the end, you can only buy so many Ferraris and so many private islands. And even then, if you're buying a private island, you're just paying a rich person for that. So those rich people their money just cycles in their own little economy. Houston is from Resident Flea. With all the shenanigans going on in the market, when do you think the big boys, Vanguard, BlackRock, will just say enough? This is a worldwide epidemic and nobody is doing a thing about it. Man, I'm really curious to see, because nobody at these big banks or funds have said anything about the fact that all these Chinese real estate folks are defaulting on debt, like hundreds of millions of dollars a week in bond and interest payments on bonds. That these big groups, they count on that cash to keep capital flowing and for liquidity requirements. And if all of a sudden they're missing out on $1 billion a week in interest payments on some of these bonds they hold, that's a lot of money for these groups. They might have, portfolios in the trillions that are managed for all these people, but to have cash coming through is needed all the time. And if this cash flow starts to get nibbled up, and it starts to compound across, these folks are diversified, so they're like, oh, I'll invest in this Chinese real estate company, and this Chinese real estate company, and this Chinese real estate company, and now I'm diversified. But if all those Chinese real estate companies collapse, then all of a sudden you aren't diversified anymore. It's like how AIG was willing to insure all of these mortgage-backed securities, because what are the chances that every single solitary mortgage-backed security will collapse all at once? That's not going to happen. Geico doesn't assume that every single car is going to get in an accident at the exact same moment. No, they expect, there'll be an accident over here, one over there, and they'll pay out over time over these, accidents throughout the course of a year. They don't expect every single car in America to smash into each other at once and have to do 200 million claims all on the same day. So that's why AIG went under and had to get bailed out by the various governments of the world, because their insurance payments greatly exceeded the expectation of how many these funds would collapse. So, these funds and banks are investing in a way that they're assuming that everyone's going to be above water, and there might be a collapse over here or one over there. They're expecting the entire Chinese market to just disappear as a result of shenanigans in those economies. So there's a lot going on there. Okay. Do animals have meerkat manipulation? President Flea says GameStop has exactly 741 videos uploaded. Interesting. Has anyone ever done any stock ever done an NFT? They have given NFTs as dividends, like coins, but I don't think any stock has ever turned itself into an NFT. There's been fundraising. A couple years ago, I was reading about like groups that wanted to build a hotel in Jamaica or something, and they sold their own crypto coin for the hotel. That's sort of like making a stock, I guess, but not. Best Buds Dogs LLC. Who's watching Monkey Butt? My friend Shawnee. Shawnee was my roommate when I got Monkey Butt, and she lives in Seattle, so she's sort of like Monkey Butt's stepmom. And so she's watching. She's got her own dog. She's got Monkey Butt, and then another friend of hers dropped her dog off, so she's like a kennel right now with 3 dogs running around having WrestleMania. If EU bans payment for order flow, would that allow EU apes to take real shares out of the system? Maybe. It depends on which brokerage you're using. If you're trading like on the Frankfurt exchange, then you probably will be avoiding the payment for order flow. But if you're trading with a broker that's trading on the U.S. exchange, you're getting a pool of shares just like Americans would. So regardless if it's payment for order flow or not, you can still get a synthetic deposit into your broker's account, and the registered name on that account is your brokerage. So it depends on how your brokerage is buying those shares. Okay. What time is it where I am? About 10 o'clock, I think. 10 p.m. somewhere around there. I'm fading now. We did a lot of sun and driving today, so I won't last for much longer. And Matt's probably waiting for me to shut up. So, yeah. Peter asked, do you think Europe is more stable during a market crash? In 2008, Denmark got hurt, but not as much as USA. That's what I heard. I think Europe weathered the market crash better than the U.S. did. They've got better safety nets. Well, I would say all of Europe, because Greece certainly took a large hit, and Spain did for sure. But a lot of that had to do with Germany and where the loans came from, and forcing austerity onto these nations, which actually hurt everybody in the long run. If you force the type of austerity that essentially punishes the population, then you're going to get less money out in the end, and it's going to take longer for these nations to recover and be able to benefit everybody. I'm kind of a big fan of the Iceland model, where when the banks who are doing shady shit got into trouble, they're like, help us. And citizens of Iceland are like, nah, we'll go back to fishing herring and wait a couple of years until everything clears out. And they seem to be doing great. They have lots of books to read. Everyone there is a weird artist and does avant-garde music, and they're pretty happy. Okay. James Kelly, Houston, what are the odds of this being intertwined with a possible conflict with China? Could this potentially erase our debt they own? What are the implications of China reabsorbing Taiwan? I think it'd be a huge mistake for China to reabsorb Taiwan. One, they're going to be facing civil war. The Taiwanese will not allow it. Two, they'll be facing sanctions from outside countries, which will hurt their bottom line, and the fact that they need others to invest in their country and to buy products from them. It will allow other nations to compete with Chinese tooling, because the tooling for manufacturing stuff is a really big deal. Post World War II, the United States had blown everyone up, right? They blew up Germany. Germany blew up Russia. Germany blew up England. Germany blew up France. The United States blew up Japan. So the United States became the manufacturing center for everything for like 20 years. And we saw the greatest economic prosperity the United States or the world's ever known, because we were the only ones who could make anything, because our factories hadn't been blown up like everyone else. So our economic growth was insane. But, then came along Japan. And Japanese cars started to end up in the United States. We're like, oh, those crummy Japanese cars. No one's ever going to buy those. And then by the 80s, the Japanese cars were far superior to American cars. And in the 80s, the Korean cars arrived. And the Korean cars, everyone's like, oh, those crappy Korean cars. No one's ever going to buy those. And by the 1990s, Korean cars were superior to American cars. Now the Chinese cars are starting to come to America. And we're like, oh, the stupid Chinese cars. No one wants those. And I bet in 10, 15, 20 years, Chinese cars will be superior to American cars. So the world can play catch up, and we aren't the only player anymore. So if China allows other nations to get the tooling for technology ahead of them, or compete with them, and we have a reason to be like, no, you can't go to China and get your handbags made. No, you can't go to China and get your cell phones made. No, you can't go to China and have your RC cars made. No, you can't, and so on. Then all of a sudden, some weird country, maybe like Kenya, will be like, hey, why don't you build a semiconductor facility in Kenya? Or why don't you make your cars here? Or whatever. So it can allow other nations that are developing to entice these investments in, especially if doing business with China would be made illegal because they took over Taiwan or did shady gnarly stuff. I bet this is all saber rattling. I don't think conflict will arise as a result of this. I think they're just like, oh, and being angry about it because they need to get some attention going there. DBR Germany, Houston, you see Charlie's vid, you see how he encrypted Ryan Cohen's tweet. Thought about his work. I did not see that video yet. I'm sorry, I've been on vacation, so I haven't did it. Fee rhymes with the AMC gave me some coordinates, but I can't look at them because I'm on my cell phone today. Sorry, but man. And my cell phone, I can't do the Google Earth thing because my computer won't hook up to the internet. So sorry everyone, I can't do the coordinates. So save those coordinates for maybe tomorrow night or Wednesday. I can do some Google Earth stuff. So yeah. All right. Okay, I'm tired. I gotta go to bed here. Got an early morning. So I'm gonna be heading out in a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can get one good question here. Cosmic Cornelius Houston GME stopped trading at 7:41 today. You can Google it. 7:41 is RC's constant tweet time. What's your take on it stopping at 7:41? I will have to look that up. I'm sorry, I have no idea. What time will be on next time? I don't know. Tomorrow, probably another late night show, because I've got a lot of stuff I got to do during the day. So if I come on, it'll be another late night show, keeping you folks up late. But yeah, all right. I'm gonna bid everybody adieu. I'll catch up to you hopefully maybe tomorrow or Wednesday, and if not, it'll be Friday evening after I get back from Hawaii. So all right. Good night, everyone. I'll catch you all later, and I have no idea how to get out of this on my phone. I guess I just hit the X. Hit the X to try. Wink. Yes, I want to stop streaming. Bye, everybody.